Hey everybody, it's Rajesh here.
Intane here.
Welcome to our podcast, Baskets of Knowledge, Chats with a Difference. In our podcast, we invite guests from around the country and around the world to talk about how they got to where they're at the moment. It's about a journey, it's about an experience, it's about their life. Kia ora koutou, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Baskets of Knowledge. We had a bit of a break last week as life got crazy busy. This morning or this afternoon, this evening, whenever you're hearing the podcast, it's just me. Tane is away doing something pretty cool. He's off to celebrate people's success as they celebrate their final year of school. He's away to celebrate that big moment in life when there's big change happening in their worlds. What have I been putting into my basket of knowledge since I last was online? I think the biggest thing that I put into my basket of knowledge was I went to a, a Pakistan New Zealand business thing yesterday, and why? What was really beautiful about that was a lot of times we see places like Pakistan in a certain light that the media portrays on us, but listening to these business people from Pakistan speak about their country with so much passion and so much love and so much adoration, you pause and go, actually, how much of the world is tainted? I mean, we know this here, but we don't stop to think about actually, is the message that we're seeing is the actual message that is out there? It just got me thinking about as these people are so proud of where they come from, it reminds me that, wherever you come from in the world, we all have pride from where we come from. We might not agree with what the situation is, but the pride for where we come from, whether it is a country or it's a village or your suburb, there's pride there. And sometimes we forget about that because we let the world dictate the pride that we have for our place. That was just a reminder for me and for our listeners out there to think about where you're actually from, and don't hide that pride because it is part of who you are. But hey, let's change tack right now because it's not about me. I could be on you having a monologue for hours and hours and hours. As you know, we scour the country and the world to find people that we think we're interesting. We think everyone is interesting. Everyone's got a story to share. And today I'm really excited, proud, and really privileged to introduce our guest. It is someone that you all have spheres, and this is someone that came into my sphere in my world a few months ago when we did a boot camp. And just by sharing their little banter, I was like, oh, this is a fun person. And then, as you all know, I enjoy the world of LinkedIn. And this person is not just fun, but they have a lot of depth to them. They have a lot of life experience. And, every post they put onto LinkedIn, I'm smiling because it's really funny, or it's very thoughtful. It gets me thinking. So when you have someone that can make you laugh and make you think at the same time, how amazing is that? So I'm really proud and very excited to welcome to Past Knowledge Janelle. Kia ora, Janelle.
Hello, and thank you. I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Beautiful, Janelle. For people who know nothing about who Janelle is, who's Janelle today on the 7th of November?
Well, if you look on my LinkedIn today, I'm the owner of free range chickens in my backyard. I have 3 chickens. We have a love-hate relationship. Other than that, I live on the central coast of New South Wales, Australia, which is about 2 hours north of Sydney. Beautiful beaches. I live on a couple of acres, hence the chickens. But I'm also a mother of 6 kids that are now grown and 1 grandbaby, of which we are very proud.
Oh, wow, how amazing. I always love starting a conversation about people who were there today, and I love your first statement was 3 free-range chickens. How awesome is that?
It's awesome until they get into my seedlings,
Uh,
and then we have conversations that make no difference at all, but the eggs are amazing.
yeah, eggs, all that matter, right? That's just really beautiful. But this is who you are today. If we, rewind and go back to Janelle 20 years ago, and if I said Janelle 20 years ago, or maybe even 25 years ago, that Janelle, hey, in 25 years ago, you were going to be doing exactly what you're doing right now. What would you have said to me at that point in time?
Wow. 20 years ago, I was a stay-home mom. I homeschooled my children, 6.
Wow.
20 years ago, the baby was 1, and then I have stair steps up from that. We were living in the US, in Cincinnati, Ohio, which was a completely different world. We were into airplanes and we traveled a little bit, completely different environment. We lived in a suburb. It was wild, kids everywhere. We'd be homeschooling with toddlers sitting on the table. We're trying to do, high level math with the older ones. So I wouldn't have actually thought that we would have been back in Australia. I thought we were going to be in the US forever. So 20 years ago was a pretty different time than it is now.
Yeah, and I always like to ask origin stories because, each one of us thinks that we're in a state in our life that, at that point in time, this is where we are. But, one of the big things we're going to talk about today is change. And you've
Mm.
had so much change from 20 years to now. But I'm going to just deep dive a little bit. Homeschooling, was there a active decision to do that, or did life make you go, actually, this is what we want to do? Because six children homeschooling, I'm just trying to do that math there. It's
Well, the two
beautiful.
things, they didn't happen at the same time, you
Yeah.
understand.
Yes.
We'll have to go back. Let's go
Let's
back
go back. Let's go back. Let's
30,
go back. Yeah, let's keep going back.
3 years. We have my husband and I, newly married, great jobs. I'd gone back to uni the first time, decided that we wanted to change. And so we orchestrated this huge life change for ourselves. And we moved from actually here, where we had grown up, and moved to England. And in the middle of all that packing and moving and visas and all of that sort of stuff, I discovered that I was pregnant.
Oh,
So that was a bit of a change right there.
yes.
Very unexpected, shocking. The doctor told me, and I think my face just went wide. She said, sit down. But we decided to go anyway. And so in all of that, I had another child, and we decided that we didn't know where we were going to live. So we decided that as our oldest child got to 5, that we would homeschool, and it would allow us to travel, to do other things, to be more flexible, and it was a great decision for us. Not always easy, but it was a great decision.
Yeah. And I love asking that there because, when people think about homeschooling, they think people do it because they don't trust the education system or, whatever. But increasingly, I'm finding people are homeschooling for that exact reason that you say actually gives us a lot of freedom with the way we can live our lives.
Yeah, and that was true for us. So when I when we had our third child, she was 6 weeks old. My husband took a contract in America. So he he left to go over there, and I packed up the house with a 6 week old baby and 2 toddlers. Never doing that again. Very bad idea. I mean, it worked, but it was hard.
Yeah.
Um, and we continue homeschooling. We found a group there more prevalent back then, because we're
Yes.
talking nearly 30 years ago,
Yeah.
more prevalent there. We found a group of like-minded people who, some who definitely didn't agree with the schooling system. There is definitely that. But I kind of think of them as our hippie years in a
Yeah.
way, because
Yeah.
we were free to go. It's a windy day, let's go fly a kite. There was
Yeah.
that flexibility, and I liked it. I'm still in touch with some of the people from over there, which is pretty cool.
Oh, I love that. And what I love about that is because, you start building your own sense of community and, you go off the beaten track, which is a little bit different, but still allows you to have an enriched experience with your young people.
Yeah, I think that for me is the key of homeschooling, was the enrichment.
Yeah.
It allowed us to do a lot of stuff that we wouldn't have done if we'd had the structure of school years. And we would travel at odd times, and we could come back to Australia too to visit our families. For us it was a great decision.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and I think it's important to realize that everyone's decision is their decision and you made the decision and here you are today, living the fruits of whatever those adventures. And,
Yeah, and you can always change your mind, right? You make a decision and you think, this is not working, let's do something else.
what's shocking. This is important to remember, everyone. You can change your mind because
Right.
I think this is important and we'll come to this quite a bit in today's conversation, I think,
Mm.
is people get too married with about the ideas and they're so fixed that they think they can't change their mind.
Yeah, that's a really good point out. And I hear that a lot, on the whole homeschooling thing too. I'm gonna homeschool my kindergartner, and it's not a forever decision.
Yeah.
It might just be for a year, and then you think, oh, it didn't work.
Yeah.
I've had friends who've gone in and out of schooling, and different types of school too.
Yeah, totally. And again, it's not just schooling, right? We use schooling as an example, but this could be anything. You could try whatever, and you can go. This didn't work, and it's okay.
Yeah, business. I tried a business and it didn't work. I haven't yet, but I hear it.
Yeah,
I tried a business, it didn't work. I'm a failure. No, you're
yeah,
not. Let's just shift a little bit and try something else.
yeah, totally, exactly. But it's a mindset thing, and I think this is something that's really important. The whole mindset of letting go is okay.
Yeah, and it's actually good for us. to
It
let
is.
go of something that's
Yeah.
not great. If it's not working, it's not working. If you had a
Yeah.
car that wasn't working, you would either get it repaired or get a new car.
Totally. 100%. And you don't think, if it's anything material, you wouldn't think twice about it. You'd replace it or you'd fix it.
Yeah, yeah.
But when
That's
it
a good
comes to
point.
us, we never do that, do we?
Sometimes no, you
Yeah.
don't.
And I want to touch on that because I think it's important that we talk about this. We've used the word change multiple times now. Change is something that you are really, ever since I've seen your posts, ever since I've gotten to know you, change is something that you really talk about. And what got you into that space there? And why is it such a big part of your messaging, I guess?
That's an excellent question. Um, because we've had such a lot of change in our lives, you know, planning to go overseas for adventure, no other reason, but let's do an adventure. We're young, and then choosing to keep going with that change really set something inside me that change is good. And then as my life has gone on, I had a job that I loved and was shifted out of the job. And that change really sent me spinning. And it made me think about why. And it's easy to talk about resilience, but I think there's a deeper conversation about that because, yes, we do need to be resilient, but we also need to embrace change, and that helps us be resilient. And so I was very surprised at myself when losing that job. Like I was in a whirlpool of emotion, and it was really tough. So that made me think, I need to put some stuff down here. I've learned some stuff. Let's kind of arrow in on it and think about it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean,
Circumstances.
and when you think I'm going to take you back into that moment there when the change happened, what surprised you the most about that that moment for you? Because you said you're surprised, but the way you reacted, was it the loss of identity with a job or the loss of a job? What was the and I'm asking this because people sometimes go, yeah, but that's just normal. But some people it's not. This is the whole big change process.
Yeah, I think it was very I want to say messy, but that's not quite what I mean. I think I mean more intertwined.
Yeah.
I loved the job.
Yes.
If something that you love and you lose really is hard to let go of. It's like you want to keep your fingers in it because
Yeah.
you loved it so much. So losing that, and then I would say that some of my identity was in the job about what I was doing to help people, and it was a not-for-profit.
Yes.
And I really loved the role. It felt like it was perfect for me. People and process,
Yeah.
process people, love them
Tick.
both. Love a good process. And so being moved out of that role really sent me into probably 6 months of crying every morning. I would sit before the kids woke up and not howling, but just tears. Just, I didn't know what to do with myself. And then the messiness of that was also I was the main money earner in our family.
Uh,
There was no income. So it was quite a stressful time.
yeah.
But it was that finance, identity, some friendships too, and my thoughts about myself as a person who could work. What do I do with that? So it was a multi-layered thing. And I think any change has multi-layers. It's
Yeah.
never just a thing. It affects different parts of our lives.
Yeah, and I love that answer there because as you said, everything is multi-layered. Nothing is a singular dimension. And as you
Mhm.
mentioned, first is might have been identity, then the finances, then your own self-worth, and that's important because for anyone listening out there, whenever anything happens in your life, it's not a single frame of thinking. There's so much behind it, and also when you think about other people going through change. And I'll give you an example. This morning, I had a meeting with my team, and we reframed our meeting this morning to talk about challenges. So everyone comes with wins of the week, and I was like, yeah, cool. We've all had wins. Let's talk about challenges, and everyone raised more than one challenge, which is great. This is what you wanted to hear. It wasn't just about work; it was about their life challenge. And then one person is where I got thinking. They said to me, "Oh, my challenge is so tiny; it's not the same as blah blah blah." In the context. And this is my challenge. That challenge was we need to remember that our challenge is our challenge. We can't really compare it. I can't compare Janelle's challenge to my challenge. It is everyone's challenge is valid. But then her response to me was, yeah, but it doesn't seem the same. And it's interesting about that mindset that, when you start comparing, because comparing is not always about the good stuff, it's also about the bad stuff. It's, when people say it's not as bad as, yeah, it might not be as bad as, but it is still bad in your world.
It's all about our context
Yeah.
to change. Some people have a high capacity for coping with change, and other people look like they have a low capacity. However, it might be because of the filter they're looking through. So
Yeah.
if you've had change after change after change, it's a bit like you graze your knee, and if you keep picking at it, it doesn't really heal.
Yeah.
And change can be a bit like that. It can be a change and then another big change and another big change. It's like we don't have time to heal from one
Yeah.
or recalibrate from one is a better way to put it. And yeah, your change is not my change.
Yeah.
They might look the same on paper,
Yes.
but we all have a filter that we look through and we feel through.
Yeah. And I love that your change is not the same as my change because of the thoughts we come through, which is so beautiful. And as you've started going on this journey of the change revelation or the change message, what's come up for you as something that's really common or something that's got you thinking about change a little bit differently?
I've now orchestrated big changes for myself. So moving countries. Um, I've worked in not-for-profits and then I've worked in corporate. So which is three very different ways of managing change. And I've learned a lot about implementing change for people. And so when it's your own change, let's move overseas, yay! Because you've done that too, right?
Yeah,
Let's move. It's big, but you feel in control of it. So what I've
totally.
really learned about change is the ones we're not in control of, those changes that we suddenly find ourselves in the middle of, whether it's a diagnosis, a redundancy, some kind of loss. It's those sudden changes that can really tip us into what feels like a washing machine of emotion. It's that you think about the washing machine. So those looking at change from three different perspectives has been very interesting. Personal, then different, work organizations. And then even observing other organizations do change or other people do change is really interesting. Some people have a massive change and they tiptoe through it, and other people fall over. It takes years to get back again, and really interesting to watch and just to pull all those threads of ways of coping with change together. I think that's been really important to see people, people,
Yeah,
people.
yeah. Because at the heart of it all is people, right? At the heart of any change. Yeah.
Yeah, and we forget, especially corporates. Sorry to any
Yes.
corporate listening. We often forget because the decisions are made at a high level. Say a restructure, the decisions are made weeks and weeks and weeks out. The leaders are looking at what the new structure needs to be, how it works. They're looking at all that, and so it's so firmly fixed in their minds that sometimes the trickle down doesn't work well,
Yes.
and that's when we get blindsided as the team. It's an interesting thing to watch.
That is interesting. And as you said, that it makes me think about when change happens. There's two kinds of change: change for the sake of change, or change because you're reacting to something in the world that is happening, or you are making that change. And I talk about change for the sake of change because when I speak to young people, they're like, "Oh, I want to change my job," and I was like, "Tell me the reason to change my job." And I don't actually know, but I just think I have to change my job. So there's no reason to it. Like there's no reason, but they're like, I think I've been here for too long, therefore I should change my job. And when you have a conversation, actually they don't want to change their job. They just think they have to change their job. And then you have things that happen in your life. As you mentioned, you had things happen in your life, and you react differently. But at the heart of that is people. People. And when process takes over people, sometimes, I loved how you said process and people is what you love. But often in organizations, process takes over people. and or sometimes people take over process, both ways. Doesn't work well, does it?
That's true. And I think it flows between the two sides.
Yeah.
Process helps people,
Yes.
which is great. Everybody knows what's going on. But sometimes the people are really what's important in
Yeah.
that moment. And when I look at teams of people, all of that team will be going through different things in their life
Yeah.
and might not be telling us.
Yeah.
And it's not their work performance, it's their home life is a mess or their health or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, people taking time to see people, I think, is super important in change when we're instigating it for them
Yeah.
or when we're just looking at the person.
And that's so powerful. And sometimes we forget about that, right? And it's really interesting when I go into coaching, it's just so different because in coaching you have to be present 100% and I think about that in my working world and the other things I do. And I think if I didn't give people space and time, I'm cheating myself because I'm not getting, for example, today talking to Janelle, I'm getting to hear Janelle's full story. Conversely, if I just said, okay, cool, Janelle's a person in my sphere, don't need to know about her. When I leave this conversation today, I have a higher understanding, a better understanding of you as a human, but also I learned some things from a different perspective, which I didn't ever think about.
Yeah. Perspective.
Yeah,
Perspective is good,
yeah, just,
especially with change.
yeah,
I wrote myself a little note. I have a few sticky notes around here. And I wrote one, just a thought was changing the perspective. So recently I changed the orientation of my desk. I changed the perspective of my desk. So the view behind me is looking out the window. So before I could see out the window, but behind me was just a wall, a corner. So now I'm looking into the corner, and you all get the perspective that's, my lovely plants and my beautiful pictures. And I miss that perspective, but it's a better
yeah,
perspective for you.
yeah,
So I thought, oh, I must look at that, how we change when there's change going on, our perspective matters.
yeah. And that's so powerful, right? Perspective matters in any situation, actually, right? So, but I'm gonna think about this very well, actually what you just said, that change happens every single second. We think about change, big changes, but every word that comes out from my mouth, it changes the way you think about what's going to be coming, not consciously, but subconsciously. And when before I jumped on this call with you or this podcast with you, I just reflected about between the time I start speaking to you to the time we end, my perception and idea is going to change dramatically, even though nothing has changed dramatically in my outer world, just one conversation. And I think, the more we think about change happens all the time and we see that and acknowledge that there, just like your example of a disc that happens and it changes so much for you.
Yeah, I that's our words are really powerful too,
Yeah,
and how we talk to other people about ourselves is really important because it settles in here.
totally.
It's not just what we think, it's what we say as well, which is
Yeah,
why podcasts are powerful because
yeah.
people can listen to them while they're, driving the car, doing the gardening. But it does change something inside us.
It sure does. I'm going to flip this, change it just a little bit because I want to talk about, we're going very deep and very serious, but I want to talk about something that I really love about what you do is in your LinkedIn post, you add humor, and I love how you have those fun fact Fridays, and I mean, just really random. Is there something that you humor is part of your world, or is it something you realize actually, hey, the world is serious, I'm going to have some fun and chuck it in? I just love to know how people think when they think about, I'm just going to chuck in something randomly fun on it.
I I really enjoy the LinkedIn world. I
Yes.
I, I enjoy because it is quite corporate, um, but it gets very worthy. And even when we look at depending on what you follow on Instagram or Facebook, or even just the news, it's all very serious, very and and we're all trying to sell something or sell ourselves or get a following, whatever it is. So I think humor is such an important thing to just say, hey, it's fine. Let's put it something a bit of humor, sprinkle it around. And humor is quite hopeful. And it calls out what sometimes the silliness of the world, like my chicken post. I love the chickens, but honestly, sometimes I want them in the pot because they do dig my gardens, they root my carrots. So a bit of humor connects people. And what I've actually noticed on LinkedIn is when I do those silly posts, it gets quite a high engagement because I think a lot of us say, oh, thank goodness, something to laugh about, because the world can be very serious.
Yeah,
At the moment, there's a lot of big things happening.
yeah,
And a bit of day-to-day, this is my life humor is really good. It's very intentional.
yeah. And I love it. I just want to acknowledge that there because I think when I see a post on a I think someone on a Friday, I just smile. It just smile. It's really funny. And I'm gonna acknowledge you for this year because I love those Friday posts. So recently on LinkedIn, every day, I don't know if you've seen this viral video that's out where someone's just laughing, like they have a laugh song, like hey, 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 and I put that every day on my exact same post on my LinkedIn, on my Instagram every day, and just call it my daily laugh. And it's just infectious. People just reply back going, I just needed that. And I'm like, it's just for me as well. It's very selfish because I'm putting up there because it makes me laugh. But hey, sharing the laughter, but intentional because, as you said before, there's people are either selling or they are promoting or they're sharing some stuff that's like, but hey, a bit of a
Yeah.
laugh is why not, right? What's the worst that can happen? Nothing. Someone feels good.
I've seen one clip that it's a fellow on a bus and he's got his headphones in and he's, looking at something and just starts laughing.
Yep.
And the reactions of the people. Now I think it's maybe a setup, but it's pretty funny because people can't help smiling because he is laughing.
Yeah.
They have no idea what he's laughing at because they can't hear it or see it.
Yeah.
But just that infectious laughing. I mean, and I have quite a strong emoji game as well, Prajesh.
I was gonna bring that up. I was like, hey, for those of you that don't know anything about Janelle, there's one thing I want you to take away. Her emoji game is like next level epic.
Just a bit of fun. It takes
Yeah.
2 or 3 seconds longer than putting a like,
Yeah.
thumbs up, but it's just there's a depth of emojis out there that really help bring emotion.
Yeah. And emotions you to know your head. You're like, actually, this is describing exactly how I feel.
It's
No, I
good.
love it. I love it. I love it. And let's talk about your liminal space idea. Let's talk where did that come from and what is that all about? And for our listeners know nothing about that, let's expand on where that comes from.
Um, sorry, I have hay fever. That's why I'm a bit sniffly and eyes running. I'm fine. I'm not crying at Prajesh. Um,
Crying with laughter,
liminal,
right? Crying with laughter. That's something.
it's
That's
crying with laughter.
yeah,
Liminal space is a middle space. So think about known past, uncertain future, the two spaces. And my deep thinking about liminal space really came out when I lost that job. So I'd gone from about 6 months of crying at night because I knew something wasn't right with the job. That inside you, you can't identify what's wrong, but there's something wrong. Then walking out the door from that job. And then I cried every morning for about 6 months. Again, not wild sobs, just sitting there thinking, what on earth is going on? And that feeling of the washing machine of emotion, or thinking about, it felt like white water rafting. You're in a raft, you don't have a paddle, there's no handholds, and emotionally is a mess. You're traveling somewhere, but you don't know where. So that's the liminal space. And it's a middle ground. It's not a was and it's not an is, it's a present. It's a good space though, if we lean into it. So we can be liminal. So it comes from the Latin, which means threshold. So think about stepping through a doorway. You're stepping into a new space. And so that's what the liminal space is. And whether you have intentionally stepped into a liminal space. So some people do radically disruptive things in their own lives. They quit jobs, they move countries, that I'm deliberately stepping over a threshold and disrupting. But most of us will experience disruptive change that is thrust on us. It's that, again, that diagnosis, redundancy, loss type thing. And you're in a space of, I can see the past clearly, and it was comfortable. I had a job or health or a home, whatever it is. I can see that, but I'm no longer part of that. And the layering of liminality is your head is in one space and your heart, but you still have to cook dinner.
Uh,
It's these multiple layers at one time. If we acknowledge that it's liminal and that we actually don't know what tomorrow looks like, it's actually really helpful for us because it allows us to take change, reframe it, and think about what is tomorrow. It's quite a meaningful place. And yes, we can be resilient to the change and like I've got to change and I can get through it. But sometimes just sitting in that liminal space is really helpful to form what we're going to be.
yeah, that is so, so powerful. And it's powerful because we don't do that. We're always either here or here. We're in the past or the present, even sorry, not the present, the past or the future. This is where we always go, unless we have the whole be mindful, be present, and all that fun stuff there. But I love how you framed it as liminal because we think about mindfulness, and even when we're mindfulness, we're just there for like 10 seconds, and we're not actually thinking about where we really are, what we were actually doing. And I love how you spoke about there's a heart head disconnect from reality sometimes, and yeah, it's very beautiful.
Yeah. It can be really hard.
Oh yes,
And particularly I think in our Western culture, we say, oh, just move on. The
yeah,
past was there, it's gone, just move on, do the next thing. I think we do ourselves a disservice
yeah,
when we don't acknowledge the struggle.
yeah,
And it can be a spiritual place too, of sort of like reformation of who we think we are and who we could be. It's
yeah,
it's yeah, it's like it involves all of us. And to move through a liminal space takes intentionality.
yeah,
It's that one small choice. And it doesn't have to be a big choice. So it doesn't have to be a radical, I'm going to start a new degree. It can be just today I will go for a walk. It's that one step at a time
yeah.
sort of thought. Hmm.
And again, it's so crazy because yesterday at this event I was at, we were speaking about something very similar in terms of people have a goal to get to and they have awareness, but
Mm.
do they have the willingness? And this is where, awareness and willingness are two very, very different things. So it's a bit like what you're saying now. I have the awareness of getting to my present moments,
Yeah,
but am I willing to go there because I'm afraid of what I'm going to find?
that's good. I like that. Awareness and willingness. Yeah. Because in this sort of the space of change, liminal space, think about if you've been made redundant from your job, you loved your job, you've been made redundant, and it's gone. Do you find another job the same, or do you use it as an opportunity to say, well, actually, I've always really wanted to,
Yeah.
and there's room for both, but yeah, awareness and willingness.
Yes,
That's good.
it's really interesting you've said that because right now I'm working with a client of mine who wants to find the same job, exact same job that she was made redundant from. And I asked her, what makes you want to go back to the exact same job? Like, you know,
Mm.
and she couldn't answer that question. She
Hmm.
couldn't answer that question. She came up with, yeah, it's safe. It's like, when I said to her, now that you've got this space, and if you were going to rewrite your job description, what would your job description look like today? And this is the power of, as you say, the liminal space, where you give yourself time to actually pause and go, in this moment in time, who can I be right now that's going to affect my future based on the limits of my past?
Mm. The familiar has a strong pull,
It 100% does. Yeah.
and that's part of grief and loss. You
Yes.
like, say if you lose someone who's dear to you, you want to rewind the clock back
Yeah.
so that they're here. And the same
Yes.
with jobs.
Yes.
That was familiar. I knew what was happening back there, and now I don't know who to be without it.
Yeah.
Uh, the yeah, it's the
Yeah.
risk. the resetting, it's almost like you could say it's deconstruction and reconstruction.
Yeah,
We're leaving something behind and building something up,
yeah.
which is
And
uncomfortable.
it is very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. And another thing that I'd like to again, just it just came to my mind as well, is change is inevitable, but so is grief. Grief is inevitable in our lives. Whether we can live the most amazing life, but we're going to have grief. The grief could be the loss of somebody, or the grief could be your iPhone battery died. Believe
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, right? But every one of us, every single one of us, I promise you, is going to experience grief in our lives, and grief is part of the change. And as you said before, it's that identity of the familiar that you just attach to the familiar, but now
Yeah.
you're thrust into a place that actually, there's double whammy in change and grief at the same time. What do I do with that there?
Yeah. Even I don't even like to change handbags
Yeah,
because the old handbag was familiar and the
yeah,
zips were right and the pockets and and so it usually takes me a week to transition to a new handbag because it's trivial, but it is a bit of loss. I like the familiarity of that.
yeah.
And now I have to refigure a new one out.
At the moment, I'm smiling because it might seem trivial, but it comes down to even you're getting a new phone, right? So you are so comfortable with your phone, and then you got to change your phone. Like, I'm so not used to this new phone, and those things. We think about big things in life when it comes to change, but your handbag, your phone, those tiny things really makes a difference.
Oh, and it small changes happen to us all day, every day. Think
Yeah,
about an update on your laptop.
yeah,
Like, where did that, where's the icon? Oh my goodness.
yeah,
Something just changed recently, and I thought, what's going on? So it's incremental and it might only take a day or two, but it's still a layer of change.
yeah. Will that change? And also because it's so unexpected, right? It's an unexpected change. If you knew there was if someone said to you, okay, hey Janelle, this you're gonna have 600 updates in the next 6 months, and each update is going to do this year, even
Yeah.
though you are never going to read those updates, you're not going to read the document in your mind. You go, cool, at least I know about it. You know, and then if the change happens, you blame yourself for not reading the update. But because it just happens, you go, oh, it's so
Oh,
crazy.
my husband's phone recently did an update without telling him.
Oh,
Again,
great.
without
Yeah,
telling him.
yeah.
It was the message app. And so instead of it scrolling this way, that was showing limited messages, and it's taken him weeks. He hates this new thing. So it's really rocked his what it looks like. So also made him a little cross because I didn't ask him.
There you go. Just yep. It's crazy. It's the power of control again, right? The power of choice and control. And what I'm loving about today's conversation is, each of those things, everything is linked. Everything is linked. If we step back and zoom back and think about it, and I'm really glad we're having this conversation because I never think about these things. I think about separate things. But hey, change, choice, grief, it all is all linked together. And
Yeah.
coming back to your concept of liminal space is how much time do we actually stop and go, actually, this is uncomfortable, but I've got to be uncomfortable to be comfortable in wherever I've come from, where I'm going.
Yeah. It's John C. Maxwell says change is inevitable, growth is a choice.
Yeah,
And it's easier to go back.
yeah,
Definitely easier to go back. And
yeah,
sometimes going back is fine. I mean,
yeah,
it's not a bad thing. It's just that choice. But
yeah,
to be somebody else or something else, the stretch is painful.
yeah. But even when you go back, you're going back as a different person into a different space. If things have changed, it's like that. I'm going to butcher this quote. I'm really going to butcher this quote. But when you cross a river and you recross it again, the river is different, and so are you.
Yeah.
It's a quote. It's a ancient Greek quote, but I've
I
totally
was going to say
butchered
it
it. But
sounds like an ancient. It's true. I talked about in my book that I've just launched. It's like being on a river with a team. So when I stepped out of the job that I loved, it was like we were all on the same river together, and we were all in our own little canoes, and we were, down the river, and there was rapids, and we did it together, and smooth places, we did it together. Whirlpools, we did it together. And then it's like one of the team feeling exhausted and getting out onto the riverbank. But by the time you look up, everybody's already swept down the river, and you really can't rejoin that same place. And I think that's some of the difficulty when you lose a job. If your identity is in it, which mine obviously was, what's gone is gone, and you can't get back there. There's no way to jump in again.
Yeah, I love that analogy. That's such a great analogy of
Mm.
whitewater rafting. Beautiful. What a great segue from liminal space to your book. How did we go from stay-at-home mom, liminal space, employed, crying about losing your job, to being an author and writing about, and congratulations because that's just happened recently. So congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah, the digital version hasn't come out yet, so that's the next exciting thing. I've learned a lot about publishing. It's been a whole journey. I like words. So if you gave me the choice of words or numbers, I'm definitely your words girl.
Yeah.
So I've always liked writing. It's those connections that we talked about, the things that connect together. And I met somebody who was a publisher and said to me, "Are you going to do it?" And I thought, "Well, yes, I am." And I did. So I've had a lot of the content in the book in my head for a while, and I would like to, put some thoughts down, in a Google Doc every now and again. But talking to my friend who's a publisher, I was given a framework of how to do it. So a skeleton, how to do a book skeleton. And I actually put all the words of the book down between March and May this year.
Oh, wow.
I got up at 5 every morning and wrote. I was still working full time at that point, corporate role. May was my deadline because winter comes and my house is very cold, and you can't type with cold fingers.
No, you
Your
can.
brain doesn't work properly. Doesn't matter how many layers you put
Layers.
on.
Yeah.
So I gave myself a deadline, and just put words down. Now, it's not a very long book, and that's very intentional because it's called Verging on Normal. And it's about that change moment, the one moment in time where you get the bad news of some kind. In those moments, you don't need a great, huge textbook. To my mind, in my hardest times, I've just needed something easy to read that's going to give me hope to get through it. So that's how that journey went. A confluence of people, time, the right season, I guess you would
Yeah.
say. And that's how that, it's been coming for a while. You don't suddenly write a book, I don't think. I think you have it in your head.
Yeah.
And
No.
then it,
And I love how you set yourself, into the reality of winter. And, because we always say, we all have ideas. We all have thousands and thousands and millions of ideas, but until you actually action it, it's just an idea. And I love the fact that, everyone's got a story, but you made the intentional choice to write it. How did it feel having the book in your hand? It was done.
oh, it's so exciting. I have one here. This is my
Oh,
book.
there we go.
Everything on normal. It's a milestone, and it's a great milestone. And I was keen to start the next book.
Oh, wow.
I started to do the skeleton, and someone very wise said to me, "Let this one settle first.
Yeah.
Because you need to have your head in this one to have conversations like this. Where if
Yeah.
I had already moved on, my head would have been somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, um, it's a pretty good thing. And then to go to a launch, we had a launch in Melbourne. There was three of us who wrote our books to get not together, but we met every week for 3 months to encourage one another, to be that community that pulls together. How's it going? Oh, I'm going to give up. No, you're not. Come on. Here's a couple of emojis. It'll help, like pull it together. And it was wonderful to be there with them and cheer them on as this community, little community that we built together.
Uh,
Fantastic.
So good, so good. How did you celebrate, Janelle? How does Janelle celebrate?
Oh, did I celebrate? Well, we had the Melbourne launch, which was the Able Publishing launch. And then 2 weeks later, I did one local to where I live. Um, Pulled in all of my friends to help. I had the caterer and the venue and that, and pulled people in who just to say thank you. Friends, family, people came from, 4 hours drive to come
Wow.
and just had a great time with it. Read a little bit of the book, did a little bit of the speech, had a good time. So that was my idea of celebrating was to it was a bit of marketing, but bring the friends together. I had work friends, other friends, longtime friends, friends who went well, who came. That's my idea of celebration is community.
Yeah, and I love that because it's an intentional question because a lot of times we achieve a goal and we don't take a moment to celebrate. And as you just alluded to before, you're like, okay, next book, and we all do that there. We all just chase that next whatever the next thing is, but actually pausing and going, oh, it's a bit like when you run a half marathon or a marathon, before that you never think that you want to run ever again with all the training. And then you get there and then you immediately sign for the next one. But you haven't had time to just sink in and enjoy or actually commiserate what you've actually done because you just sign up, you're in such a high, I'm going to sign it up straight away. But just pause and celebrate that achievement, whatever that achievement is.
In Melbourne at the physical book launch, Able Publishing do a really interesting thing. There was 15 authors who were launching books, and there was awards ceremony. There was a lot going on. It was a busy weekend. And they gave each of the publishing authors, new authors, an opportunity to stand on the stage for 1 minute. You weren't allowed to speak, but you could do whatever you want. And to just stand and for the audience, there was probably 200 people there, the gala dinner. So there was lots of sequins and sparkles and ruffles. But the opportunity to stand there for 1 minute and be honored
Oh, wow.
was very impacting. Never
Yeah,
done anything like that before. I don't particularly enjoy being the center of attention. But to just stand there and know that there was a room full of people who were saying, we honor the time that you've taken, we honor what you've achieved in doing this, was quite impactful.
it's very, very cool. It's actually got me thinking about, how whenever we acknowledge somebody, we expect them to give us a speech. So that moment is actually taken away because they're there in their heads, but they're not taking that exact moment. So how it's so powerful when you just go, I'm just honoring you for what you've achieved.
Yeah, it's not easy to
No,
stand for a minute. And some people only did 30 seconds, and that was enough. I took the full 1 minute. Actually, it
really.
probably was over a minute because I was trying to count it down in my head.
Yeah.
Very powerful moment.
And isn't
And
that's liminal space right there? It's you living in liminal, like that's forced liminal space, essentially.
actually, yeah, you're right. A good pickup. Yeah, middle space of it's almost like being in free fall.
Yeah.
You're just there in the center.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got that time because, doing anything hard is hard, but it's awesome to get the acknowledgement. And I say that because it is hard things are hard, and people go like, oh, you can do hard things. Yeah, but they're still hard. Doesn't make it any easier. It's still hard or, ch
True.
or challenging, I have a friend of mine who always says, yeah, you can do hard things. I was like, yeah, that doesn't, it's not hard. It's like, yeah, you can say that as many times as you want. It doesn't mean it's not hard.
Still hard.
Yeah.
And it's made one moment at a time.
Yes.
In our family, we say, how do you eat an elephant?
Mhm.
And it's a common saying.
Yeah.
You eat an elephant one sandwich at a time. You don't eat the elephant. You eat, and I always say, can I have a coffee as well? Because that will help. It's that one moment of this is the moment that I'm going to do the one thing towards
Right.
the hard thing.
That's right. And that's so powerful. That is so powerful.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that. I love that take there. And as we think about your book and Liminal Space, I'm also going to ask you your little journey on being a speaker as well, because that's also something you've done or you do as well. Um, what has that journey been like for you as well?
Sometimes change comes because it's thrust on us. We've talked
Yes.
about that. And
Yeah.
sometimes you need to be your own disruptor.
Yeah.
In this case, I'm being my own disruptor. And the
Yeah.
book is part of that. I wrote that while I was still employed. The end of June this year, I resigned to work on a speaking career.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to do for a very long time, needed to be able to devote the time to it.
Yeah.
And again, it's challenging. It's learning, it's putting yourself out there,
Yeah.
asking, can I come and talk for you? Can I tell you about this? And that's challenging too. I wouldn't say this for me is a liminal space, but I would say that is full of challenge
Yeah.
and progress and one step at a time. It's interesting. I've learned a lot. Had some small speaking opportunities. Looking at where that goes,
Yeah.
it almost was a now or never. If I
Yeah.
don't do it now, when?
Yeah.
And I'd rather try.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And what's the worst that could happen? It doesn't work out, and you have other opportunities in life that you can do other things. As we
This is
said right at the start, right? You're allowed to have a season of a specific thing and then go, cool, this
yeah,
season was amazing. I'm going to level up, or the season not really my jam. I'm going to choose a different thing.
do something else.
Yeah,
Good to assess along the way.
yeah,
Before we started the podcast, I was thinking about it. What does it look like in a year? And then what does it look like in 3 years?
yeah,
Book, speaking, developing workshops around the book. Normal is a bit of a fallacy because we're never actually normal.
yeah,
We're in place for a while and then something happens.
yeah.
But normal feels good.
Yes,
And so when the changes come, they disrupt us. And
100%.
how do we support? How do we support our friends, our work teams, family in those changes?
Yeah,
That's my 3-year goal. It's not just to be on platform with a microphone, although I do enjoy that, to be honest. It's more what can you give away? So how can you help your work team?
yeah, that's right.
Where's the hope in this situation?
Yeah. And this ties back into the stuff that you spoke about, being for a non-profit community, all these things that you
Mm.
speak about, which are high value. So it comes across really, it's not a surprise to me that this is really important for you, that what is the value that I'm adding with whatever I'm doing to the people that are listening, reading, or in my workshops.
Hope. We
Yeah,
all need hope.
we all do. Exactly. And a bit of laughter. And laughter gives us hope, which is fantastic.
We do. I think laughing is hopeful.
Yeah, sure is.
It gives us something to hold on to when it can feel dark. Life
Yeah,
can feel messy and
yeah.
dark. Humor helps.
It sure does. Sure does. Janelle, we've been speaking for almost an hour. I knew this would be a very free-flowing conversation, and I can't believe it's an hour already. And I'm just going to ask you one last question, which we do with our. Oh, sorry, before I ask the question, was there anything else that you wanted to add, which I haven't covered, which you think would be great for our listeners to hear about?
Um, the only thing I'd say is grab hold of hope. Not, I hope it doesn't rain on my picnic today, hope.
Oh,
That's how we use the word hope normally.
yes.
But hope is that there will be better, that tomorrow will be different, that the past was great, I can learn from it, the future is coming. That kind of hopefulness. I call it confident hope.
No,
Hope
I
that
love
there
that.
is a future. It feels often like we're stuck in a messy and nothing will ever change. It does, one day at a time.
Yeah.
Confident hope.
Yeah, because as we've learned today, that change is inevitable. It's part of life. So
Mm.
if you can grasp onto confident hope, that is really, really beautiful. Do you know, you've probably stolen my, so you've probably given me the answer to my last question, but I'm going to ask the question anyway, because you'll have to think of something really quick as well. Um, our podcast is called Baskets of Knowledge, and every episode we invite our guests to share a piece of knowledge to put into our baskets. You've shared a lot today, but if there's any other piece of knowledge to put into our basket, apart from confident hope, or it could be confident hope, is there anything else is there anything you'd like to share with us?
Definitely confident hope, but the basket of knowledge is never full.
No, it isn't.
So my piece of wisdom that I would add to that is don't ever let it feel like it's full. Keep learning, keep having interesting conversations, keep learning, do courses, do interesting things. I never want to be the person that, as I'm getting older, pulls back and stops learning, stops being the encourager, stops experiencing new things. It's easy to settle. We get at times in our
Yeah.
lives, we think, oh, goodness. But that basket of knowledge, it's to feel for yourself, but also to give away. So I love that concept of the basket of knowledge. Keep learning, keep being hopeful, keep giving it away.
I love that. You know, what I love about that was your basket of knowledge is never full. And that's such a great way to look at life because, as you said before, we settle sometimes too easily. But if we go, actually, this basket of this basket is not full, but also this basket can be shared. It's a basket. It's there to share with other people. And when you don't share with other people, you're being selfish. It's not a basket anymore. It's a prison. Actually, it becomes a prison of knowledge. So that's such a great way to round off the podcast. You know, thank you for that. There.
It's been a pleasure. And I did do a little research on the podcast, the history of it, and such a great thing to do to encourage people
Thank you.
in the change moment. Especially young people are amazing.
Yeah, they show up, but so are people that are young at heart. Yeah, yeah.
True.
Do you know, for our listeners out there, if they want to connect with you or get a copy of your book, or if they just want to know more about who you are as an amazing human being, what's the best way for them to do that there? Or if they want to see your emoji game, how do they do that there?
For Emoji Game, LinkedIn for sure.
Yeah,
That's my vibe. My LinkedIn is Janelle Hulin. I try and get on there a few times a week. I really love the connections that are coming through LinkedIn. Definitely Emoji Game on that one. My book will be out on Amazon in a couple of weeks.
awesome.
It's still coming, and then they have the big burst date where everybody pushes it, and I will be announcing that on LinkedIn is the best way. I do have a website, janellehulin.com. It's out there, it's live, but it's under construction.
All right. Yep.
It's on the way.
What we'll do is we'll share all those links in the show notes as well. So if anybody wants to connect, either to wait for your book to be launched, or to maybe have a chat with you, or just to challenge you to an emoji battle, it's there for them to do that there. You know, thank you so much. You know, it's as I said during the podcast that I know you through connection, but I don't know you. But as a human, and over the last, over over an hour or so, I've learned so much about you as a human being, but also the value and the lessons that you bring into the world is really powerful. And I can see why you want to be on stage talking about, whatever you talk about, because the impact, as you said, is about people. So thank you so much for your time today. Even though I got the time zones totally wrong, but that's not my fault. It's Google's fault. I'm going to blame Google because that's what bad workmen do. They blame their tools, and that's what I'm going to do today. Thank you, Janelle, for your time. So, our listeners out there, hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and hopefully you found something to take away. Hopefully you've thought about the liminal space that you're living in, and if you're not living in, think about that there. And hopefully, as you've listened to the podcast, and especially towards the end, you've thought about your context of life and how you can implement confident hope in whatever that context looks like. And just remember, like Janelle said, it's your life is your life. Your hope is your hope, your confidence, and your change is your change. And don't ever try and compare that with anyone else, because if you do that, the world starts changing for you directly, because change is inevitable and you want to control some of it, you get disrupted. But till next time, keep smiling. Don't forget to have confident hope. And most important of all, don't forget to put something into your basket of knowledge. Till next time, talk to you everybody. Bye. Thanks, Janelle.
Thank you for listening to Baskets of Knowledge.
Yeah, we hope that you found something useful to put into your basket of knowledge. And as we said before, remember to put something little into your baskets of knowledge every week. And as always, feel free to like, comment, and share this podcast. Thanks, everybody. Bye.